Good Sunday evening, everyone. It's time for our educational moment for the night. We don't have that many hills in Florida, but I thought, wouldn't it be fun, since we're all stuck in home with nowhere to go, that we do an educational moment that takes a tour of different landscapes and the associated weather around the different geography that we do not have in Florida, because the weather that occurs around mountains is really, really cool, fun to talk about, and probably not too fun to experience in certain cases, but still a really fun weather topic to talk about tonight and to teach you guys about. So, one thing with the mountains that you might see near the North Carolina areas, in the central United States, near the West Coast, what we're going to talk about today, as far as the meteorological aspects surrounding them, it's going to be the same no matter where you're at. So, these physical properties occur due to the actual shape of the mountains, not necessarily where they're at in the world. So any mountain in the world, you're going to find this type of weather and associated with it. So let's start by talking about wind. So wind flowing over the top of the mountains is pretty fast, and there's parts of that wind closer to the mountaintop that dive down the side of the mountain. And the side that you see right here is called the lee side of the mountain. So on the opposite side, where there are no lines diving down the side of the wind, on the left side of that mountain, where the wind's pushing into the mountain, and if you can imagine on that side going up the mountain, that's called the windward side of the mountain. Makes sense, windward. It's where the wind's pushing up the mountain. And where the wind is diving down the side of the mountain, that's called the lee side of the mountain. So this is our setup. We're going to start with talking about these strong upper level winds flowing over these mountains. So we don't get this in Florida. Very flat geography in Florida. Except for in Tallahassee. There's some hills in Tallahassee. I learned that when I was studying there. But Panama City, the Panhandle, in general, Florida, flat. So this air flowing on top of the mountain, these fast winds in the upper levels of our atmosphere, they're typically colder. So they're cold air flowing at the top of the mountain, and some of that wind near the top will flow downward. So on the right side of that mountain, you can see there's some clouds. And we'll explain why you see clouds on the left side of this image on the windward side of the mountain and not on the leeward side of the mountain. The whole point of this discussion is getting into why that is. So when that air rushes down the leeward side of the mountain, it's dry. It's dry because when it rushed up the windward side of the mountain, all the rain was squeezed out of it. The clouds were formed, all that moisture formed those clouds, it rained out, so now it's used up all the moisture it had going up the mountain, and then it's sliding down the mountain, and it's dry, and as air sinks, it warms. So now it's dry, it's sinking, and it's warm. Now here's a visual of what I was just explaining. So on the windward side of that mountain, they're called upslope winds, and the rising air cools. And the moisture condenses into clouds and it rains out. It uses up all the reservoir of moisture as clouds and rain. So now on the downslope side, with the sinking warm air, that sinking air has no moisture left. It's drying out, it's warming up, and that is very typical of the weather you would see around mountains when you have strong winds rushing towards the windward side of the mountain and then sloping down on the leeward side of the mountain. Very, very typical setup. Right now in Florida, we have unusually warm-like temperatures for springtime, 10 degrees warmer than they typically are this time of year. We've been getting daily highs in the upper 80s. And our highs typically this time of year are supposed to be in the mid to upper 70s. And we have not had that much rain. So our firefighters are having to fight a couple fires across the panhandle that have sparked due to these conditions. So in our area, that's what can lead to fires and our firefighters having to fight those fires. We also have the added extra fuel in the panhandle right now because of Hurricane Michael that landed in 2018. all the trees it knocked over is still around the panhandle, and that just works to help fuel these fires and spread them when they do break out. Well, speaking about this place that we're touring away from Florida, they have a fire risk as well. It's different than the fire risks that we have, and similar in some aspects, but one thing they have that we don't, as far as sparking the fires, is that warm, dry air. When it flows down the side of that mountain and it's drying out and it's warming up, there's no clouds, maybe the sun's radiating even more heat down into the base of that mountain, they could catch fires. You have strong winds, dry air, warmer temperatures, that ups your risk of fires. So they are mountains, and this type of meteorological physical process lends to a greater risk for fires in certain cases for them. And that's because they're mountains that we don't have. Now, you could say that we're, being Florida, the lightning capital of the world. So we have lightning more so than most areas around the United States that have mountains. They have lightning and they have storms, and those will spark fires. But their mountains are the big fire starters, and we have lightning that starts fires. And so it's just depending on where you're at, will have different contributions to your weather based on your geography. Whether there's a lot of lightning in the area, whether you have mountains and downsloping winds, there's a lot of factors that go into the locale of each area and their weather associated with it. So that's my little educational tidbit today, the upsloping and downsloping of winds, how one side of a mountain can have rain and the other side of the mountain can not only have no rain, but even a fire risk, and what happens when the winds rise and they sink. Just a little recap, when they're rising on the wind side, the windward side, they're cooling, they're condensing, they're squeezing all that moisture out. Now it has nothing left, and then it's sinking on the lee side. That dry air is now warming, and there you have it. Hope you enjoyed the little educational moment this evening, and stay safe and healthy out there until next time.